So this is me. This is how to get a hold of me. As I tell everyone, I get over 200 emails a day. I prefer emails, or you can text me at that number. Phone calls are problematic because I don't answer my phone when I'm with a client. It goes to voicemail. But I also say that if you call or send me an email and you don't get a response in 24 hours, you can assume I'm dead or I'm in jail, and then I'd be calling you for bail, of course. I've never been in jail. Or I missed it. It rolled off the bottom and I missed it. So it's not bugging me if you send me a reminder. It's just a reminder, and I take it that way because I miss things sometimes. So don't feel, if it hasn't been answered, hit me back again. So I apologize for that, but it's just the way it is with stuff. I'm able to send my emails legally while I'm driving, so I try to catch up on them that way because it will read me my emails, and I can send emails by just my voice. So, yeah, that's a good question, and I planted her. She's part of the audience. We didn't know you before, like the magicians always do, right? So there's two parts of EmpowerMac. My business partner, Pete Losey, and I, but mainly him, we do classes about every 2 months that are intense classes where we do a whole weekend for $99. It's 4 3-hour classes. And it's really, really good. We really get it. Did I say 3? Let's see, 10 to 2. Yeah, 4 3-hour classes.
How do you do that?
I can, if you email me, we'll put you on the mailing list for that. And believe me, we don't send out enough emails, so you're not going to get spammed from it. But it's great programs. We'll do a full day on Pages. We've done a full weekend on iPhoto because Pete used to be a professional photographer too. So there's photo tips, and then there's how to use iPhoto, how to make slideshows, how to do things like that. But we're going to hold off on iPhoto till after the first of the year because Apple is rolling out a very neat program called Photos that's going to work with both your Mac, both your Mac and your iPad. So we've done our last iPhoto class because they're going to call it Photos, and that won't be out till after the first of the year. I do one-on-one tech support, whether it be teaching you software, whether it be Pages, Numbers, Keynote, Microsoft Word a little, but anything like that, setting your network up. My normal rates are $75 for the first hour and $50 for each additional. That's discounted $25 over my normal rate, and I'll keep that as long as I can until I get booked 24/7. I do weekends, I do evenings because that's how most people's schedules are, and I don't mind that at all. I'm sorry?
Where are your classes going to happen?
The classes are, the rest of the year will be at La Placita Dos on Greenback Lane, Greenback, just by Sunrise Mall, kind of. So, great little restaurant, have a banquet room. My best friends own the restaurant, so they let us get the banquet room in there, and it's comfortable. We've also done, we do a few times a year out at Sierra View Country Club out here too. So, unfortunately, everything's more geared towards Sacramento. But I go everywhere. I mean, I have clients up above Auburn, Forest Hill, and that. I have clients down near Stockton, so I kind of have them all over the place. So, so this was kind of what you guys remember from your old PC days, or there was this, and just don't get a ricochet. And with a little help, hopefully you'll be doing well. So again, feel free to contact me, and if you email me and you want to get on the mailing list for the classes we have, I'll be happy to do that. And also I can reply to you and give you the Mac Nexus info. You guys have a little brochure here from Mac Nexus. Mac Nexus is the Sacramento Macintosh Users Group, and it's 600 members strong. We have classes on the first Saturday and the third Saturday of every month. We have a general meeting once a month where we have a speaker come in and things. It's a great organization. I tell people come to 2 or 3 of the classes, and if you enjoy the class, you can join, and a family can join for $40 for a year. So we keep our fees very reasonable on that. We haven't raised them for a decade, I don't think. So, and we're pretty sound financially with 600 members. So It's a great, and there's a little bit of a social component to it, but you learn from other people. I yesterday morning taught a class all 3 hours from 9 to noon at St. Mark's Church behind Country Club. There were some classrooms there, and it was all about all the new cell phone plans because it's a big thing with the new iPhone coming out, which I'll discuss in a little bit. But does anyone here live in Lincoln Hills, Sun City, Lincoln Hills? Okay, you guys have a wonderful user group there that unfortunately is only available to residents of Lincoln Hills because of the way the charter is about using the facilities. But Lincoln Hills Macintosh Users Group is a fantastic group. And I would encourage you guys to take a look at them and see. In fact, Bob just mentioned they have a banquet coming up here. So it's a great resource, and it's like-minded individuals getting together and helping each other out. And I don't know their schedule of classes and things like that, but it's a great group. So other resources, Mac, I just type into Google Mac 101 and I get this Mac Basics. And it's really nice because you can do different tours of going through the computer on your own. But as I told some people here earlier, the best resource in the world is Google. Because the question you're asking has been asked thousands of times before. So how do I attach a document in Mail and just put Mac at the end? And you'll get a plethora of ways to do it. So it's your best resource, but don't be afraid to reach out. Many times I can do stuff on the phone and do it really quickly. I'm pretty good about visualizing screens. I also, I forgot to mention, I do remote tech support too, where I can log into your screen for you. And if I do that, it's $35 an hour is all. But a lot of times there's simple questions that can be answered on the phone. I'm not like the lawyer where I'm going to charge you $2 for a copy and for every second on the phone. If you have a question and you can get a hold of me, email me and I'll either send you a link back or reply by phone. We're going to have, it looks like possibly in October, we may have a basic Mac class that I'll be giving for probably a 6-hour class on a Saturday or a Sunday at La Placida Dos. So if you're interested in that, feel free to email me at
That's going to be what? 6-hour basic?
6 hour of going through basically the stuff we covered today, but really going in depth. And how to really use Mail, how to use Safari. It's like anything else. The time you invest in learning it is going to manifest itself over the life of having that computer for a long time. And we do a lot of iPad, iPhone classes. How many iPhone users are there here? Okay, how many iPad users? How many are getting ready to upgrade those very soon with the new? In fact, we'll find out here Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. is the big announcement. They're going to have a big keynote about the new iPhone 6, which.
Is it going to be a lot different?
Well, I have them right here. They're cardboard mock-ups of them. But yeah, it won't be a lot different. This is the current iPhone 5S size, but they're going to offer some bigger ones. And it's really funny because this looks really big. But it actually might make it so I don't have to use my iPad mini as much. But in Europe and in the Middle East and in Asia, this size phone, they call them phablets, they're kind of a phone tablet, is very popular. In the US, not so much. But I'll pass these around just because people are really curious when they start announcing the new things.
So wait, one's the 4 and one's the 5?
The 5S is the current phone is the smallest one there, and when you put them up by the others, it looks, I know it's hard to believe it's the right, so what you've got, which one,
Is the 5S
is that a 5-inch or 5.5? No. This is a Samsung, let's take a look here.
Yeah.
Kind of in between.
Is the 5S?
See, that's what I'm going to do today, as I leave here, I'm going to go over to the phones here and see the exact size because the weight and stuff. Because it's an investment. But the iPhone 6 looks like it's going to come in 4.7-inch and 5.5-inch measured diagonally, and the current one is only 4 inches.
For the 5S?
Yeah, the 5S. The one before that, the 4 and before was 3.7 inches.
What about the regular
5? 5 and 5S are exactly the same dimensions. So, and if you're going to upgrade, make sure you look at your cellular plans because the prices are dropping on plans all over the place, and there's some really aggressive things out there, and you don't have to do 2-year contracts anymore. If you want to get your phone subsidized and get it for a discount, yes, but like T-Mobile will finance the phone over time for you, and you'll save a lot more money than if you were to stick with AT&T and Verizon and keep with their subsidized plan, because they're not giving you that. The phone normally, like the 5S, that people buy on plan for $199, really costs them $650. So it's a little different. But I just, there's going to be a lot of things happening. Anybody that has an iPhone currently, if it's a 4S or newer, or an iPad 2 or newer, there's going to be a brand new operating system called iOS 8. It's got a lot of behind the scenes things and a lot of neat things happening, but don't worry, it doesn't act different. And your Macs will be able to be upgraded to the newest version called 10.10 Yosemite, where currently it's 10.9 Mavericks, and that will be free also. And you guys don't download it on your little hotspot. They have a little hotspot, and it would use up all their data for 2 months probably. So, all right, so that's all coming, and there's some neat things. In fact, one of the key features I like is, first of all, if I'm sitting in front of my Mac and my cell phone is in the other room, my iPhone's there and it rings, it'll show up on my computer and say, hey, your phone's ringing, and I can answer it with the speaker and microphone right here and talk all I want and make calls back the other way.
That's not yet, right?
That'll be in the new operating system that gets it in Tuesday. And then the other thing is, if I have my iPhone or my iPad and I'm typing out an email and I come over near my computer, I go, oh, and I can take over and continue doing it right there. So it really, this interactivity, but it only does your computer because it knows you have these what's called trusted devices. So thank you for my iPhone 6 back. Oh, and by the way, the thickness was actually pretty close. The 4S will be a little thinner than this, and this is about what the 5 is. So anyway, today I'm recording things, and so if you go to kenspencer.com and you click on classes, up at the top it says, come on, where's my classes? And then, like yesterday's class, I don't have it. I've got it here, but I don't have it online yet. But I'll have my Best Buy class up there. It'll take you to a link of all my YouTube classes for a long time. I mean, there's just a Best Buy. The last time I did it here is up there. One's about iOS basics. I'll be having a new one for iOS 8, of course. Just go through here, and I've got a ton of these. They're simply my screen with us talking about it is all it is. But you can go through. You've got your own little collection there, and it's completely free. I don't know, an ad might pop up or something like that, but don't worry, I'm not getting anything off the ad. That's just the cost of having it hosted on YouTube. So, all right, and the other thing I have on the same Ken Spencer website is Mac Sheets, right up top here. And if you click on Mac Sheets, you get this little icon like this, and if you click on this, you get a full-size version. Now, in Safari, I've clicked on that PDF, and if I move my mouse down here, look at what appears. I can make it bigger or smaller, but if I click here, it will fire it up in the automatic preview app. So I come down here. Oh, so here it was the small version, just to kind of give you a thumbnail of it, and then when you click on it, it brings it full size. So this makes it larger, or smaller, larger, then right here is open it in preview or download the file if you want. But if you open it in preview, it pops it open right like this. And this is a place to keep all your passwords. Now, don't go in here and feel like you have to fill out every one of these. This might be, now how many here have an iMac? Okay, you know that aluminum band along the bottom? That wasn't made to stick your passwords to. But everybody has their password or sticky notes on that thing because it's kind of the perfect spot for it. But anyway, then the other thing is, yeah, on the bottom's got the spot where it just looks like it's perfect for sticky notes, right? And these are what's called keyboard shortcuts for different things. A lot of you are probably used to right-clicking and cut, copy, and paste. All of those keyboard shortcuts are there. And consequently, it has my information on it. My info's on there too, and it has the Apple Store information. The sheets, oh, actually, I'm sorry, it's the sheet we just passed out to you guys. So you all have the sheet there. And if,
The Best Buy sheet?
yeah, the Best Buy sheet, it's this exact sheet, so.
Oh, okay.
So you said to, that was just one of the questions, right clicking to save?
Uh-huh.
That's a shortcut on that paper?
Right-click anywhere you can do. You can right-click on the mouse. You have to do it. Let me make sure I get to that, but that's a little later when we go into preferences.
Sorry.
No, that's quite all right, because that means I got to get to it. First thing I'd like to do is, this is the dock along the bottom. Okay, the dock is where your apps, some of your apps reside.
Yeah.
But your screen is built just like me. It's wider than it is tall. So why take up this very, very valuable real estate down here with this dock when we can push the dock over to the side? So to push the dock over to the side, I go up to the Apple logo, come down to dock, and then just say position on the left. Now, look how much more room I have if I'm at a website, like for instance, if I'm at this website or at CNN.com. See, I've got more room I can take and move this down. If you're working on an email or a document, you've recaptured this extra space down here because we've got plenty of width, so we have the document or the dock over there. Go ahead.
I was having trouble the other day. I have a new Mac. How do you scroll down?
We're going to fix
Is that a stupid question?
No, it's not a stupid question. It's we're going to get to that in just a second. Let me finish with the dock because we're all used to the mouse scrolling and everything else. So here, who here is on laptops? Mac laptops? And the rest of you have the mouse, or do you have mouse on your laptop, or are you just using your laptop?
Just my laptop.
Okay. So when we go, so the dock is over on the left, and what we may have to do is, for instance, at the top we have 3 buttons: red, green, and yellow. Now you'll notice that it kind of bumps into the dock. If I hit the green button, it resizes it knowing to clear the dock. Now, red, you're used to the X in the upper right on Windows, which closes the program and everything else. That's the red dot. The yellow dot is the old minimize, and I'll show you what it does in slow motion. It puts it down in the dock for you, okay? So it's still there and it's still running, and all I have to do is click on it and it comes right back up. I'm doing slow motion by holding the shift key. So here it is in real speed. Boom, boom, okay? The green just changes the size. There was our old size. Here's our new size of the document. And of course, like anywhere else, you can come down to the corner and you can drag, click and drag and resize that however you want. But then what happens is the green toggles it back to where it was, back and forth, so it's just a different setting. If I hit the red dot, it gets rid of it, but it doesn't always quit the program. I can tell if a program's running. You can barely see, it's not quite too good on the screen, but that little tick mark right by the side says the program's running. And at the top, it says Keynote. So that means that's the program that's foremost on my screen right now. If I click on this screen, now it's Safari, which is the browser, okay? And the browser, you guys had Internet Explorer on the PC or Google Chrome or something. Safari is the built-in browser on the Mac. A really good alternate browser, and it's not bad to have too, would be Google Chrome, and it's a free download. So the browser is how you read or see the internet. Okay. That being said, you'll notice there's a scroll bar here when I'm scrolling. But first, how do I scroll? If you have the little Mighty Mouse or Magic Mouse that came with it, the white one that's got the curved surface, to scroll, all I do is slide my finger, not click and hold, but I slide my single finger along the surface, and that scrolls it, okay? Okay, but I'm going to get to yours in a second. So a single finger scrolls when you're on the page. You still have to move the mouse to move the cursor, but to scroll the page, you go up and down. If you're not clear with that, we'll do that with the mouse afterwards. But if you're on a laptop, to scroll, you take 2 fingers on your trackpad and you simply go up and down.
On what pad?
The trackpad,
What's on your pad?
just on the trackpad, 2 fingers up and down. Okay, not clicking, just sliding. And then you'll notice when I'm scrolling, you'll notice the scroll bar appears. But we're all used to having a scroll bar there. So Apple wants to be very minimalist. They want to get all this stuff out of the way so it doesn't ruin your experience. Well, I feel that at some point there's certain things they shouldn't do away with. I'm going to show you how to tweak a few things. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a new user of Mac. I've been using a PC.
Mhm.
One of my questions is just close the Safari and he put the Google on my computer.
Right.
I've been using Google anyway, so I'm used
Right.
to it. So I don't have the Safari. It's just there, but you shut it off.
Yeah, they took it off your dock probably. It's still there.
It's there.
But you know what? Everyone should use Safari going forward. The reason being is when we go to websites, when you fill out passwords, you want them saved or not saved, but most of the time you want them saved. Safari will save them, and then the beauty is, if you don't have an iPhone, you have an Android. Actually, in your case with Google Chrome, it's a good choice for you because you have an Android. So if you save a password here, it goes over to your other one. If you have an iPhone or an iPad or another Mac, it's best to use Safari because it will save the passwords in Safari. And then if you go to Amazon.com and fill it in, the password will be filled in on your iPad and your iPhone. So in your case, I'd stick with Google Chrome. Safari's your backup because you have an Android phone and all your stuff will sync across that. But if you have an iOS device, an iPad or an iPhone, stick with Safari. But again, you can use an alternate one like Google Chrome.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm always on it, and so sometimes, it slides.
Yeah, okay, so this brings me to we're going to go to system preferences now because, again, there's no scroll bar. I want to activate the scroll bar so it's there all the time because you guys are used to using the scroll bar, right? In fact, there used to be little arrows down here, up and down and all that. Well, because people are coming over from iPads and things, they don't need a scroll bar because you just use the screen. So if we go up to the Apple logo in the upper left, and we come down to System Preferences, or this little gray gear here is also System Preferences. There's the gray gear right on the side right there.
Oh, yeah.
So if I click System Preferences, this is where the meat and potatoes of your machine is. Okay, let me get rid so we can keep it so it's in up front. Now, we were talking about scroll. So, if everywhere I have a little search window with a magnifying glass, I can type what I want. But look what happens here when I type scroll. Scroll is these things, and it shows you where you can adjust that. So if I say scroll bar behavior and click that, it says, oh, right there, and it goes right to it. I'll go back because that was a little too quick. Scroll bar behavior. And now, as I hover over this, look how it changes whichever one I hover over. Well, let's see here. Scroll. Scroll bar behavior. Boom. It highlights that and takes me right to it. I want my scroll bar to always be there.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay? Now, why didn't Apple do that from the beginning? Who the heck knows, but let's fix it. All right. Now I'll go back to show all. Now let's look at our web page again. It comes up, and you'll notice you have a scroll bar all the time.
That's what I wanted.
And I can go grab this scroll bar and go up and down. Now, it's also reversed on here because you're used to scrolling the scroll bar, right? So you pull the scroll bar down and the page goes up. But Apple says, you know what? We need to make this so when, kind of like if I have my hand on the screen, if I move my cursor up, the page goes up. If I move my cursor, go down. Because again, we're kind of forgetting the scroll bar. It'll take about 2 weeks to get used to it being reversed. If you work on a PC and a Mac, I'd say let's change this to the old way, because otherwise you're going to be like Sybil and pulling your hair out because you'll have such a personality. So let's go back up to System Preferences. And those of you with a mouse, I don't have a mouse on here, but you'll notice I have mouse and trackpad preferences. So when I click on trackpad, you'll have a similar screen with your mouse. And here's our settings, and Apple provides you, when I hover over each one, it tells me and shows me in a picture what that one does. None of this obscure text about, well, if you rub your tummy and pat your head, this will happen. It's what it does. So you go over each one, smart zoom. I think the one you were having with is on your swipe between pages. Was that happening on your mouse?
Well, yeah, but like it'll just go to the, on my desktop, so the iMac.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to a whole other.
Yep.
Like with the calculator and.
Yeah. Oh, that's the dashboard.
Yeah, it goes. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So here's where you would disable that, but not under trackpad. You would do it under mouse.
Okay.
But under mouse are these very similar settings. And how many here are used to using right click on a Windows machine?
Yeah.
Right click. Okay. Let's click on point and click. It's called secondary click. Secondary click. So on a trackpad, it's 2-finger click if you have a laptop. 2 fingers click brings up a contextual menu. Okay, that's a right click. On your mouse, this is where you would activate it, and in the mouse settings, it would say enable right click. And your mouse, even though it's all one big surface, it senses where your finger is, and if you're on the right side, it will do right click. And you'll have all the
You don't really
big
need to right click
Well, actually, no, it's very helpful for copy and paste, or for doing saves or different things like that. And again, we call it secondary click because there's a whole nother way to get about it on a Mac is if you hold the control key down and single click also. So secondary click or right click is control click on your, or if you activate it on your mouse, right click, or on your trackpad, 2-finger click.
Well, it's mouse and secondary.
Yeah. And again, with your mouse, it'd be under mouse instead of trackpad. Now, for instance, if I had a mouse hooked up to this, I could have a mouse on here, and I can have certain settings for my mouse and certain settings for my trackpad. I could have a wired mouse and a wireless mouse. You could have multiple mice hooked up to a single computer, multiple keyboards. The Mac is agnostic to that. It doesn't care. And you don't have to use an Apple mouse or an Apple keyboard. They're very nice, and especially when you get used to that new mouse, is really good because you don't... The white one, the white curved one, oh, it's great. And I'm an old trackpad guy, or trackball guy is what I use on when I hook mine up. I used to have an iMac on my desktop, but I hooked this up with an external monitor, so I have a big screen, and my screen here, very similar to what we're doing here, and then I have a wired keyboard and trackball right there. So I set this up on my desk and treat it like a desktop, but with a bigger screen. So there's all kinds of other things in here, and this is stuff you can explore. If you're not sure about stuff, back away and don't change it. But realistically, this is where you can set your desktop and screensaver also, or what's commonly called wallpaper. So since we're commonly thinking of it as wallpaper, look at this. Wallpaper. It doesn't say wallpaper in here at all, but it knows if you're putting in wallpaper, it means you want to change either your desktop picture or your screensaver. Screensavers are not really used too much anymore. Did everybody remember the old flying toasters and things like that? That was when you had a CRT screen that would burn in if the image stayed stationary for a long time. You don't have that problem with the modern LCD or flat panel screens. So usually it's best to let your monitor go dark before a screensaver would go in because you're going to save the life of the bulb and you're going to save some energy. But here you can save. There's a lot of desktop pictures built in. You can change your desktop however you want. You can also use any photograph you've taken as a desktop picture.
Do you use that program to change your desktop every day?
You can do it here.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get a program. So when I click down here on change picture, I can hit every 30 minutes, every day, every hour, etc. Some people do it like every 33 seconds or stuff. Well, first of all, I never get to see my desktop because I always have stuff on top of it like my real desktop. But that just gets a little bit distracting. But you can set it however you want. And in fact, so this would cycle at this point through all these desktop pictures. But if you had a folder in iPhoto, and we're going to go over iPhoto in a minute, if you had an album in iPhoto, you could say, oh yeah, that's the pictures of all my flowers or something. And it can go through and cycle through those. Yep.
I have a question, you might get to it. But
Okay, go ahead.
Like if I take a photo with my iPhone out of the football game
Mm-hmm.
with the kids, and I come home, like they're on my iPad already when I come home basically, and I'm home for a while, but they're not on my iMac.
I'll show you when we get to iPhoto. So please ask that question there.
They're already on your pad,
Yeah, but I'll show you how to get them into iPhoto. We'll wait till we go there. All right, so other things on here, there's not a lot of settings to mess with, but this is where you would add a printer. But in fact, if you plug a printer in, it's going to say, hey, you plugged a printer in, let's do something with that. And otherwise, if you need to set up a wireless printer, you would click on this and set it up there. And again, Google it if you need to. Some of these others, you guys won't have a lot of these in this bottom row because I have a lot of special tools installed on mine because it makes me feel important, I guess. I don't know. So energy saver, this is where you can do and you can set it for like on a laptop, whether you're on battery or whether you're on power. On the desktop, obviously, it would just be one setting. Okay, any other questions on system preferences? Anybody have anything that they would want to tweak? Go ahead.
I just have a quick question, but it's not really having anything. If you want to put a CD or DVD on with your Apple Pro, you have to get a little USB player.
So yeah, so the question is, now first off, any of the new Macs that come out now don't have a CD or DVD player. There's a couple reasons for that. It's like when the floppy disk, when the original iMac came out, it didn't have a floppy disk, and everybody said, well, it will never succeed because you have to have floppy disks. Well, it was proved you didn't because it had a CD drive. We've kind of gone beyond that, but Apple doesn't include it in the computer anymore because, first of all, Apple doesn't make those. Apple has to source them from somebody and put them in because they don't need to be in that business. But that's usually the first thing that fails. So by moving it external, what they've done is, on the iMac, they've been able to make it slimmer and trimmer, and on their laptops, they've been able to make it slimmer and trimmer also. And so you can use the external. I highly recommend the Apple one for $79, and by the way, it will only work on ones. I couldn't plug it into this because I have a CD drive, but you can get aftermarket ones for $30, $40 that work just fine. I don't have to say they're work for a Mac or anything else. They will just plain work.
So does someone like Amazon have an Apple external?
Yeah, they probably even have some here. And the beauty of that is that if it were to fail, then you're just replacing that single part rather than having to have this taken in and repair everything and all that. And CDs are becoming less and less. You don't get software on CDs anymore. Kids don't buy music. Well, first of all, they don't buy music anymore. They listen to Spotify and Pandora and stuff, but you're not getting music on CDs. Most stuff is downloaded. And we're starting to get that with movies. And of course, that's what's going to happen when we go to 4K, which is the big TV thing. It's probably going to be online or on a thumb drive or something. So that's going away, but you are able to do that. Occasionally, I still burn a DVD. I do some like slideshows. I just did for a friend a memorial slideshow, which we're going to show you how easy it is to do in iPhoto. And many times you need to burn a DVD, and those little portables attachments will.
So
okay.
You can get to that photos.
Yep.
Do the portables have different read speeds?
Yeah, they do, but don't worry about that. I mean,
I use mine because I have my kids, and so we use a CD a lot sometimes, and just even trying to, because it's like.
You're more limited by the speed of the port, the USB port, than you are that. So if you have a choice, you can get a USB 3. It's going to be a lot faster than USB 2, but USB 2 will work even for burning DVDs.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right. So just, yeah, please go.
Before you get on Bluetooth, I have an Android phone. When I try to pair my Android with my iMac, it pairs it, I can send documents back and forth, and I get a message that says that it's not, that they can't access the network, should allow network access somewhere. And I can't find
Yeah, and I think what that, I'm not sure, but I think what that is there's a capability on some phones to have the phone get on the internet and the computer connect by Bluetooth and use the data on the phone to connect if you weren't at home on your Wi-Fi. I'm not positive that's what it's trying to do, but I think that's what it is.
Can you mirror the phone screen onto the
I don't think so if it's an Android.
Email me and I'll check, because I do that. I mean, here's part of the Apple ecosystem, because I do a lot of iPhone and iPad classes, and I have this wonderful app, and especially because I record them. First of all, this is hooked wirelessly to an Apple TV that's hooked to that projector that displays it here. The only wire I have is my charger. This could also hook to the Apple TV, but because I'm recording the screen of my laptop, I have the ability through an app that I love to show you my iPad right on my MacBook Pro like this. But the cool thing with Apple TV, and this is a little bit far from what you're doing, I could be watching Netflix or HBO Go or something on here, and I can send it right to the Apple TV and it goes to my TV. So, but the whole idea with this is you're asking for an app that'll allow it to do this. And I'd have to do some research because I'm not an Android person at all, and I don't know. I don't know if Reflector supports that because this uses a thing called AirPlay, and I have a feeling it's... yeah, I don't think it... I think it's different technologies, and you know, just so you understand what a lot of the hurdles we all have to jump through with all of this stuff is because the darn movie studios want to lock down everything, and they, even though you're not trying to steal a movie by doing this, they want to make, well, if he ever decided to steal a movie and do this, we've got to prevent it because everyone's a crook unless they can prove they have all these devices that are linked together. It's all this digital rights management stuff, and it's a pain in the butt, and it's hindering a lot of the things that are happening and makes it so it doesn't work too well. So that's my rant about that. So, all right, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Other than that, I just don't think it's in here, and it would be. Go ahead.
I just have a question. When I get on Facebook,
Uh-huh.
I've had friends send me videos,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't watch the videos. And I think
Are we talking about iPad or on the Mac?
on the Mac?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it says something about the Flash.
The Flash player. You know, as I go into Safari, which is where we're going right now, I'm going to show you because you have to download Flash Player. So since we finished system preferences for now, I'm going to Safari. Actually, before I go to Safari, I'm going to go down the dock to the next thing called Launchpad. This is just all your applications, just like it is on your iPhone and your iPad. Okay? And your applications live in an applications folder, but who cares? You don't need to know that. And you're able to put your most recent applications or the most used applications on the dock, but you don't have to have them on the dock. And let's see, I have Calculator as one. If I go up to Spotlight in the upper right and I just start typing Calculator, boom, it comes up with Calculator app, and I just click on it, and boom, there's my calculator. And by the way, you have the option of putting paper tape up when you do it. So if you want to see. Paper tape is as I go, let's see, 56 divided by 8 equals, it shows you the running tape of it.
Oh, I like it. How'd you get paper tape?
It's up here in Window, Paper Tape. So there's off, that's it. Paper tape off, just activate. And then unless you close this window, every time you fire up Calculator, it'll be there. So I should have it off. So I just go to Window, Show Paper Tape, and there it comes up. Okay? Yeah, and by the way, up here in the Spotlight, I can just type 2 times 36, and it gives me, right in Spotlight, it gives me that 68. So I don't even have to fire up calculator, but from right there I can click on it. See right here where it's blue? And if I click on that though, see it says calculator on the left, if I click on that, it brings it up in the calculator. But it doesn't put my calculation I just did in there, which kind of, that, you know, that's one little thing that they could fix on that. So, you know, it's, maybe it's fixed in the next version. They probably had other really important things to do, like getting it to run on certain computers, you know. All right, so Safari is our browser, and you want it to be your browser by default, except for your case. And I totally agree with using Chrome in your case. But don't be afraid to use Safari. The rest of you, Safari is a very competent browser. It's the fastest browser out there, and it's the most compatible. Google Chrome runs a great second. Firefox, depending on how recently it's been updated. But and we talked about Flash. Now you had a problem on Facebook seeing Flash videos. I'm going to show you how to fix it in Safari. And you don't have to fix anything in Google Chrome because it will come on automatically. The problem is, Flash, the reason Apple doesn't put it on an iPad and iPhone, in fact Android devices don't have Flash, which is how you see movies, is because your battery life on any of your mobile devices would be about an hour with Flash, because Flash uses so much system resources. More and more websites are not using Flash. They're using something that runs native in the browser. Flash, I'll tell you, if I have a lot of Flash open, my fans start whirring and everything else. So Flash is a bad thing, but it's a necessary evil in many things. And Adobe Flash is not to be confused with Adobe Reader, okay? So I'm going to show you how to get Adobe Flash. First, you could Google it, or here's a good example. Download, just say download Adobe Flash Mac. And we get a bunch of Google hits. And this first one, now, if you were on a PC and you got a bunch of hits, there might be sites masquerading as Adobe Flash.
A lot of times they're on.
And that could be very bad. You could get infected. You're on a Mac. Even if you went to those bad sites and downloaded those bad things, you're on a Mac. You can't get hurt. You cannot get hurt. There is no need for virus protection. There's no need for malware protection. The only thing you can be victim of is these phishing attacks. In fact, my 90-year-old mother got the phone call the other night. I was there at her house when it happened because the guy's called like 5 times. At 8:57 at night, he's calling a 90-year-old woman. Yes, I'm calling from Microsoft, and I'm seeing a big error log, and you know we should get on your screen and fix that for you. Has anyone gotten that call?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well now all you do is say, hey, I'm on a Mac. Well, first of all, this guy's on there, and I said, look, what you're doing is terrible and atrocious. It's a 90-year-old woman. Please don't ever call here again. And I hung up on him. So that's a scam. It's a total scam. They're calling from India. I got to turn off that TV in there. So
I like to ask them for their numbers.
well, yeah. So what I wanted to do, if she had already said stuff to them, I would like played along with it and say, okay, let's share my screen. But what they do is they want to get on your screen, and they want to, on a PC, they'll plant what's called ransomware. And the ransomware will totally encrypt all your data on the PC. And then they'll say, well, for $169, $229, whatever, we'll unlock your data for you and you can get it back. Is that light bugging you from the room over there? Is it okay?
Sorry.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
Let me see if I can adjust that. Sorry. They have an automated thing in there we can't fix. So let's see. That's not the one. There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
This automated home thing's pretty cool. Huh?
A lot of lights have gone on.
Yeah, that's that timing. So this will come on 2 more times during the class. So they plant this ransomware, and you have to give them money to unlock your data. And you can't even take that PC to Geek Squad, and they can't unlock the data.
Really?
Yeah. So warn your friends. Tell them to get a Mac because they don't have to worry. It's nice because you can just relax. Oh, I don't care. Nothing will happen. And that's really the laissez-faire kind of attitude. But going back to downloading Safari or downloading Flash, now if you'll notice here, the first one says adobe.com. We know it's pretty good. But what I do is I just tell people to type in get Adobe Flash. Boom. So there's the first hit is install Adobe Flash Player. So what we do is we click on it, and if you watch on my screen, once I get to this download page, I'm going to click Install Now, right down here, and in a sec, you're going to see a little thing go whoop. In a sec, it's going to go whoop.
You got good internet.
No, it's not. It's not. Oh, there it goes. Whoop. And then look up here. We all of a sudden have this little arrow that came in. And if I click on this arrow, it shows my most recent download. It'll show your list of them. And I can simply double click on this. That expands what was downloaded. Now, Adobe's not your friend. But you need Flash. But in the future, you won't need to. But look at this. They just put that there. They don't say double click here to install. They don't say anything like that. But all you do is you double click on this, and then this comes up and you say, okay, no problem. You hit open. And now it's asking you for your computer login password. When you first set up your computer, or if you ever have to log in on your screen, it needs this. Now, if you don't know this password, they could probably put it in some paperwork if the Geek Squad set up your computer or when you set it up. It's not an email password, it's not anything else, it's your computer one. And usually it's a fairly simple password.
How do you find it?
Well, hopefully it's written down somewhere and it's on that sticky note on the front of your computer. But
No, I mean, who sets it up first?
did you set your computer up, or when you set it up, it asked you to create a password?
Yeah, I put it on my own.
So that's this password.
Oh,
That's this password right here. So it's not your mail or anything else, and then this would install it. I don't want to install Adobe on this because I have to show this during this classes. I have it on my normal user, but I have a separate user set up here. But then you would just walk through the steps and it would say okay, and it'll ask you to shut Safari down because it needs to install it for Safari.
I have a question.
Hang on one sec, let me clear this so I don't. Perfect, go ahead.
You mentioned double click, and that was one of the things. Is there a way to set it up as just a single click like you could at PC
To do single click what?
for your mouse?
oh, set it as a single.
You know,
It's
like,
already single click.
in order to open a document, like when I go to Finder.
Oh, instead of double clicking?
Yeah. Is there a way to do that?
Maybe, but it could be bad because many times things open inadvertently. Oh, by the way, on your trackpads, you can activate tap to tap instead of, you just tap it instead of clicking it also, which I hate because I'm ham-handed, and so.
I have a very fundamental question.
Okay, that's good.
Well, it's good to leave the computer on in the middle of the night, or shut it off. I used to shut it off in the evening when I go to bed, and open the eye when I get up, or I just leave it on all the time, and another person is ready for that. And the people, apparently there's a battery there, whether it is good to be on and off.
Great questions. So, most of the time, your computer, your Mac is set, you know, Apple is very green, and it's set to go to sleep automatically. When it's asleep, it uses almost as little energy as if it's shut off. When it's asleep, it uses almost no energy. Okay? So the difference between shutting it off and sleeping, that's up to you. If I leave for 3 days, I'll shut it off. If I'm going to use it tomorrow, I don't shut it off, I let it go to sleep. But in that same regard, I have clients that have never restarted it in a year. You should restart or shut down and start. I say every 2 weeks, or if it starts to feel a little sluggish, because it kind of refreshes things. If I go up to the Apple logo and come down to restart, it would restart my computer. And that freshens things up. Or shut it down, and if you come back tomorrow, start it up. but only feel you have to do that every so often. On your laptop, simply shutting the lid or just walking away from it, it will go to sleep. There's nothing wrong with sleep, and it doesn't soak up any internet or anything else, but it's right there, right where you left off is the beauty of it. If you're working on a document, you know, everything pops up where you were. So don't feel compelled to have to shut it down. And the old argument, old days in PCs was, well, if I shut it, you know, well, when you start up your computer, that's the only time they ever fail. Well, it might have failed in the middle of the night, but you just didn't know it because you weren't in the restart causes it. But modern computers, let them go to sleep, and especially the Apple, it uses hardly any energy at all, almost as much as just doing that. The second question was about the keyboard and or the mouse and the trackpad if you have external. They have 2 AA batteries in there. You should get about 6 months of life out of it. Don't feel you have to turn it on and turn it off, because it goes in very good sleep too. And the idea is that's the way you wake the computer up when you do it. And what I recommend is rechargeable batteries, because you don't have to replace those batteries very often. Apple, and it's not just Apple makes this, but they have a really nice little charger. It's $29 with 6 batteries and a little charger. And this charger is a little wall wart that charges 2 at a time. And the beauty of it is when the batteries are charged, it uses no energy. It shuts down completely. But if you have those 6 batteries and you've got a keyboard with 2 batteries and a mouse with 2 batteries, you've always got 2 ready to be charged. And so you just cycle them through. And those batteries will last for years and years and years because they're the new type of batteries. So great question on that. And by the way, on your trackpad and your keyboard, the power button is on the right side, because sometimes people didn't know how to do that. And you open the left side is how you pull the batteries out. And then underneath it is a little bitty diagram showing you which way the tips of the battery go. The external keyboards. On your Mac, you just have on your laptop, you just have one like it. So did that cover that okay for you? Great.
I just got my Apple Mac Pro, and I listen to Pandora, and sometimes it just goes off, and I can't get it to go back.
Yeah, you know, usually that's probably internet connectivity issues, and it could be timing out. Sometimes they do that because, you know, you don't want to inadvertently leave it on all night because, like, it uses a lot of stuff. You also have Apple Radio, you have Spotify. There's some other choices out there now too. All right, so we're in Safari. We downloaded Flash, so that should be able to do it. And it's kind of frustrating because the Flash isn't available on the iPad, and I know what video she's talking about. Sometimes they come up like that. But Flash is the people that made all these ads that jump around and stuff too. And the people that develop websites, the lazy web designers, are still using Flash and they don't realize, well, half of the audience is looking at them on a mobile device, and mobile doesn't do Flash. So this ad would not show up there. So what they're doing is more and more are getting to what's called HTML5 for video. You'll have less of a problem with Flash. Once you install it, you're good. But they're going to design sites more and more that won't require Flash, and it uses less resources for your computer. Because realistically, if somebody designs a website and they've got a video on it and you can't see it on the iPad, most people are consuming the internet that way. All right, we're in Safari. We have a search bar right across the top. And so I typed in CNN.com. And this is what I came up with. Now, the main page on CNN.com is just kind of a list or like a table of contents, right? And you'll notice up here on the right is grayed out, it says Reader. Reader's going to be tip of the day. You guys will love this. And if I go down here to Boy 9, so if I go to a specific article, look what happens.
Where was Reader?
Upper right, and now it's blue. So all this garbage is loading, but the real crux of the article is right here, right? Do you need all that stuff over there? Do you need all that stuff here? No. So watch what happens if I click Reader. First of all, when you print it, that's a lot of extra ink.
Right.
But if I click Reader, look at how clean that is. I have the ability to make the font bigger or smaller.
And
now,
you can print
if
that?
there was you can print it from here. If this was a photo in the article, the photo would show up also.
So you just click so you open up the articles that you want to read.
Yeah, now not every article, if it's blue, it's available. Not every article at different websites will have that available, but most of them will. But remember, when we click back one screen, it's not available on the table of contents, because how would you consolidate that? Okay? Now, wouldn't it be really neat if that could happen on our iPad? So, you can, but I have to show you it looks a little different. Okay, if I go to Safari on my iPad, and by the way, they make Chrome for the iPad, but use Safari on it. So if I go to Safari and I go to CNN.com, and we'll go to the same, now you'll notice there's nothing up top here, right? So when I go to that same article about the boy takes the city bus for a joyride, keep an eye right up here. And the same on the iPhone. Once it loads, look at those little lines right there. How much easier is that to read on your mobile device? And I can actually highlight part of this. Can't hear it over the thing. So, anyway, that's Reader, and that's, again, if the lines show up on your iOS device, it's available. When I say iOS device, that means iPad or iPhone or iPod Touch.
So is the line right there, Martina?
Yep, the line's right here. But when I go back to the first page before that, see, they don't show up. And the same, if they show up here, they show up on the Mac and vice versa. Again, you get used to it and it's great, but it won't be there for every page. Top secret, the Sacramento Bee, a lot of times, will have it, so they come up with a little thing that says you've read too many articles this month or whatever. Sometimes if you hit Reader, you'll get to see the article even though it'll be mirrored in front. Or masked in front, I should say. So that's Reader. And then the nice thing is so let's go back to our regular page and let's talk about how we email people web pages, because that's pretty common. You want to share something with somebody else. Well, it's all under the share button for Mac. And if we go, we're at the main CNN page, and let's see, what's the headline? The headline is, U.S. to start going on some offense. We will defeat ISIS, President said. So, let's say you want to share this with you, and you say, wow, it's about time this happened, let's say. I'm not trying to get in a political argument here by any means, but if I went here, and I'm agnostic to that right now, but when I go to email this page, and it fires up Apple's Mail, and I have the option of sending the web page, but many times you'll just copy and paste the link. And so if I send somebody this link and you say, wow, it's about time, but tomorrow when the person clicks on this, the headline might say, they're releasing 12 child molesters from prison. Because the CNN headline changes all the time. They'd be going, what are you talking about? So I can send it as a web page or a PDF. And it's all clickable. And now they would see what you really sent, not just the link. But
The web page would be a better option.
The web page would be a better option. Or if you're going in and you want to go, and we go, let's say, to the article itself, now if I'm on the specific article, see I have all of that, it would send the link for that specific article. But look, what's even cooler now is I can email this page and look over here. Reader is an option.
Oh.
Okay?
So can you do that if I'm
Mail?
Like if I use Gmail?
No, you can send a link. You can use Gmail in your Apple Mail, and I encourage it.
Okay.
Because it's the same thing you have on your iOS device, and it's really easy to set up. But you can still go to the website, and go to gmail.com and look at it too. But everything's kind of linked in. You'll see when we go to iPhoto.
Okay.
So
Like,
again, I
that's
can...
not an option on a Gmail.
No, because also the link... So what happens is, if you send this to somebody that doesn't know about Reader or doesn't activate Reader, they're gonna see the text here. They'll get this text, but the beauty is they can still click on the link. But you sent it really clean. And this is also a nice way to print, because let's look at the difference on printing. If I go to this web page and I want to print this, look at how, we got all this gobbledygook on there. Let's hit cancel, and let's hit Reader, and let's hit print. And look at how clean it is now. Now, anytime I get a print dialog box, it's really important. The first time you want to hit show details. Apple, again, they're a little too minimalist. I want to show all my details. So here's where all my choices come in of different things, okay? So the first time you do it, then it's there for good. So anytime you see a little bitty print dialog box, to go ahead and hit show details. Now,
Can you print from the last page on here? I can't seem to find it.
print to
Last
the...
page first.
Oh, that would be collated, and it depends on your printer.
Well, on my PC I could with my printer. But
Well,
I can't find
it depends on how the printer has it. If your printer prints it normally last page and stacks it, you'll look for a button called collated.
Okay.
Okay, mine doesn't. Mine comes out this way, so that's why it does
Yeah,
that.
on my PC I could it prints. Yeah. The first
Yeah, that
page
would be collated. Look for that.
Okay, because I could print from last first.
Yeah, just look for the word collated.
Okay.
Here's where you could also choose from page 1 of 1 instead of, a lot of times, inevitably you get that last page that has nothing on it. This one does. I can zoom it in and out to make it fit a page if I want. But what we also have here is, let's say you just bought something from Amazon. Now we know Amazon will send you an email and stuff, or let's say you're at somewhere else and you really, all of us want to go print the page so we can save what that receipt was and everything. There's no need to print a page because I have PDF right here, and I can go into PDF and I can say, open the PDF in preview. So in other words, what we just had, whatever you're printing, anywhere on the Mac, not just in Safari, this could be email, wherever, I can open it in a PDF. I could save the file. If this was something I purchased, I have a little folder called Purchases. Or if we have rebates and we're waiting for the rebate to come back, I say save as a PDF in a folder. The other cool thing is that's in folder management. So that we may not have time to get into that today because folder management isn't as necessary as it used to be. But if I have time, I'll get into it. But also, I can say here, mail PDF. Anything you're in, if you're in a document or whatever, as long as you're using Apple Mail or Outlook, I hit Mail PDF, and look at this. It fires that up in a brand new email document. Right there, and all I do is simply address it. That's whether it's a page from Microsoft Word, whether it's a Pages page, whatever it is, it'll send a PDF as an attachment. Okay, which light was it? It was... There we go. And the TV off. Got it. Get it down. Oh, but the fire's on. I hope that's not a distraction. It's not really a fire. All right. So that's Safari. That's the website. Basically, the top is just start typing. And when we talked about using Google to find out what you want, just type it like you would ask somebody a question on the phone. How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Boom. Okay? All right. By the way, you can bookmark it by hitting the plus, is how you bookmark things, or you guys that came from Internet Explorer, it's called favorites. So I'm going to hide Safari. Now, the next thing down was mail. We want to talk about mail. Now, who here is using the Apple Mail, the postage stamp, to get their mail. Okay? Everybody else, you're going to the website and getting it that way?
Yes.
Like Gmail? Give me a rundown. What's your, who's using Comcast for email? Who's using Yahoo, AT&T Yahoo? SureWest?
I have a Yahoo.
CCI? Gmail? Okay, Gmail. Okay.
I'm using wave cable, but.
Wave cable,
I
okay.
have it on.
Oh, you mean what our server is?
No, what's your email address end in?
AOL.
Okay? What's your guys' email address end in?
My mail.
Oh, Yahoo Mail, okay. Yahoo? Gmail? Gmail? Because you have an Android. You're Gmail also, right? And you were Gmail.
I have all three.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's good. I'm glad to hear that most of you are not using your internet service provider as your email. Now, you said Yahoo, right? Do you have AT&T for your? And is that tied to your Yahoo? Is your Yahoo Mail separate from AT&T?
It's time to.
Okay. I encourage.
also have AOL.
Good. Okay. I encourage you to not use the Yahoo that's tied to your internet service provider. First of all, they're giving that to you as a bonus, right? It's free. As long as you pay them money every month to use their internet.
Oh.
So, if I start an internet company and I offer you 3 times the speed for 1/3 of the price, you'd want to jump over. But I got this darn email address at AT&T and it's the only one I use. Start using your Gmail. Make that be your default. It's very good. The other thing that happens is with Gmail, and even AOL does it, is as we have more and more devices, the better email services make it so if I check or reply, or if I read, reply, or forward an email from my Mac, it also shows up on my mobile device that I did that, and it also goes back and forth. You want them to interact, okay? So now you have Gmail also with your Wave broadband?
I have Gmail, I have Yahoo, and
Great.
I have wave cable.
So they give you that email address, and they're really not trying to string you along with it, but the problem is when things change in life, we move, we go somewhere else, you may Wave broadband. I mean, they may not be available wherever you go next time or something like that. Or, it happens too. Luckily, when SureWest got bought out, they allowed people to keep their SureWest, but I've seen it many times before. When ISPs get acquired, they make you change to the new one. There's no physical reason they have to do that, but they make people do it. So have an independent email provider. And you can have more than one. You can have multiple Gmail accounts. I have more than 3, but I have 3 specific Gmail accounts I use. One that I keep fairly sacred. I hardly ever give it out because I don't want it to be spammed. I have my own websites forward to it. I have another one that's like I call my throwaway Gmail address, nosken@gmail.com. I give that everywhere. And inevitably, you go to a website and they won't let you go any farther unless you put in an email address. So I use that one. I consider it my spam email, my throwaway Gmail. Ironically enough, I get less spam on it than I do on some of my others. And then I have a whole other email address I use for storage. If I have, like when I do my taxes, I email myself a PDF of my taxes to this one email address in Gmail that no one else has that email address. It's simply storage. If I have an Excel spreadsheet or things like that, because if my computer gets lost, stolen, or my data goes away, I've got it stored up there in the Google server. Because Google is, what's great about Gmail is, man, you got tons of storage. You get up to 25 gigabytes. We just talked a second ago about if the computer gets compromised or stolen. I have to point out to you, there's not really a spot in the presentation for this, but backing up your computer is very important. Now, on a PC, it was very, very important because a virus could compromise your data. Apple doesn't build hard drives. Hard drives fail. Has anyone ever lost their data anywhere yet? You've lost it. And I'd be willing to bet you're probably more prudent about backing up than most people, or not. Okay,
I have 3 extra external drives for all my things.
See, the small amount of money you spend for an external drive years ago, I had a laptop. I was a sales rep, and I had a huge database of my dealers, and it was my original Mac, and I was doing the right thing, and karma usually does pretty well for me. So I went out and I bought the old zip drive, and I'm plugging it into the back of my computer to do my very first backup because I'm going to a big trade show, big yearly trade show, and I wonder if that screen would quiet it down. Let me try something here. Shades. Oh, it's not come down on you. Stop. Good. I get the shades for the wrong room. You're really a captive audience now, right?
Oh, but it makes it easier to see the screen.
Oh, we talked about back.
Oh, that scared me. I go, what's going on over there? Oh, I think that helped a little.
So you think the mic sound should back up?
So, we'll talk about that in a second. But, so I went and bought those old zip drive, and I'm plugging it into my laptop, and the act of plugging it in caused the little feet to fold under, and the back of my laptop dropped this far on the back of my desk as it was propped up like this. Boom. I pinged my hard drive. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing my very first backup. It cost me, and this was 20 years ago, $1,800 to have the data recovered off that hard drive, and I had to drive to Marin to a place called Drive Servers to have it recovered, and they got almost all my data off of it. The little head on the drive pinged it. If you think about an old record player, an LP, older days, so the needle goes across, right? Well, it's kind of like that on a hard drive, but it's a little magnetic head that floats slightly above it, and if it touches it, that's it. So, trivia of the day, how many, on a 33 RPM record, how many grooves are there? One. Concentric circle. It's a good $5 bar bet you can win. So anyway, if you back up, it's, there's pictures. We're going into iPhoto after mail here, and there's pictures there that you can never go to Mozambique again and have that same thing. That child that's a relative of yours will never be 5 years old again. So pictures are super critical, and there's a lot of documents that are super critical. I had a client who, her iPhone had to get deleted. Apple deleted it. I'm going to see if it... Just probably got our headphones on, music and everything. Thank you. No problem. So she had the last video of her father playing the piano to her mom on her iPhone, and the iPhone screwed up and they had to delete everything. I was able to go back into her backups and restore it, and to me that's one of the nicest things that ever happened. It's really hard to back up a Mac.
It's hard to.
Yes, it's very hard. It's about a 12-step process. Actually, I don't want to say 12-step process. This is a... you find out which one of these hard drives is on sale. It doesn't have to say Mac on it anywhere. And you plug it into your Mac. And the first time you plug it in, after about 30 seconds, a window pops up and says, well, I see that you've plugged in an external hard drive. Would you like to use Time Machine with that? Say, yeah. And when you hit yes, it says, well, that hard drive that's empty, I'm going to have to format it and erase it to make it work with Time Machine. Is that okay? And you go, why not? Boom, starts backing up. Whenever it's plugged in, it will back up every hour. And it will back up every hour so much so that if I have a computer hard drive crash, which it happens, I simply plug this in and I press about 3 buttons, and it puts everything back exactly like it was, including your bookmarks, your password, all your mail, everything else. And it's called Time Machine, not backup, because if I erase a document and 3 months from now I decide I have to go find that document and it's not on my computer, I can reach back into Time Machine and recover that document, even though I've deleted it.
With that box.
With Time Machine is the program. The box is just the tool, but it doesn't need much work. There's a built-in program called Time Machine.
I have a question.
One sec.
That.
To complicate it a little bit, they have a thing called Time Capsule. Time Machine is the program. Time Capsule is Apple's device. And it's a router for your network, but it also backs everything up wirelessly. It's got a hard drive in here. So with laptops or multiple computers, it'll back it up all wirelessly over the internet.
What's the capacity?
I'm sorry, over your network. Question here first, then you. Go ahead.
What's the capacity of that?
The capacity doesn't really matter. What I would recommend is depending on, I'd get at least, hard drives are fairly cheap these days. At least get a terabyte because you're protecting yourself later. But what happens is, once it gets full, like our DVRs at home, when we get too many shows on it, it starts erasing the oldest shows, right? If it gets too full, it'll say, can I erase the oldest things you deleted? Not anything you currently have, but the oldest things you've deleted. Or you can put that one away and archive it and just go get a new one and plug it in. Now, one step beyond that, before I get to your question, is you should have 2 Time Machine backups. Because if my computer's at home, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, and I have that Time Machine hooked up to it, and a meteorite hits your house, all your data's gone. So we've protected ourselves from catastrophic drive failure, but if I have a second hard drive, I take it more than 10 blocks from my house and put it in a safe deposit box, at work, at a friend or family, and keep it there, because if anything happens at my house, flash flood, fire, etc., I can always go get that one. Now, don't go get that one and back it up every day. Your friend or family is going to hate seeing they're going to get the backup again. But if you take 30 pictures of the backyard of the nice roses that are blooming, don't rush out and go get it. But if you take a trip or you have some important documents and it's been a month since you went and got that other one, go get it, back it up, then take it back over there. It knows which drive needs what data. Time Machine, the first time it runs, takes a long time because it backs up everything, even the programs. You wouldn't have to reinstall any programs. And what happens is, that if you brought that one over, the 2 would peacefully coexist. The one that's here backs up every hour that it's plugged in. The other one will say, well, I haven't been here in 3 weeks. Okay, what new data have you created in those 3 weeks? And it just does that. Yeah, and they're independent of one another. And if you have 2 Macs or 3 Macs, it'll back them all up.
So those are just hard drives.
Just external hard drives. And I just
Time Machine.
nope. Time Machine's the program, and any external hard drive will work. And I usually try to get the flyer. They didn't have the flyers out. Just go for what one's on sale this week.
So my question was originally, I have a Toshiba that I use just solely for my pictures. Because
Oh, now wait. You drag your pictures over to it?
well, no, like I have a Canon Rebel, and so not my camera phone, just like my regular camera. It's an SLR, and so it takes really good pictures, so they're high megapixels and all this other stuff. And so when I take them off the compact flash, I load it on, because my husband used to be PC, and this is why I got out, because he doesn't want to mess with it, and he used to delete things all the time. And so I have an external that I keep all our pictures on.
And that's the only place they are.
Well, and then I have them backed up again.
Where? On another hard drive?
On another hard drive.
Okay, so you now only have 1 backup still. You don't have 2. Because if I have it in my Mac, and I back it up to an external drive, that data is in 2 places, right? If I have a second external drive, the data is in 3 places.
Well, none of the pictures are on my Mac, because I just got my Mac up like a month ago.
It's easy to put them on, and depending on how much data you have and how much room you have.
Okay.
I shoot very high definition DSLR photos also with my Canon 70D, and I have to manage my photo libraries. But you know what? Before we get that all complicated,
Okay.
If it's working for you now, hold on till after the first of the year because the new Photos app is going to make it
Well,
really
it's not,
easy.
because what happened is I have to always use my husband PC, because every time I plug my Toshiba in, it throws up this time thing, and I didn't know what it was.
Let me work
Okay.
with you separately on
Okay.
that. You had a question?
With the external hard drive, you leave it plugged in all the time?
Yeah, so if you're on a desktop computer, it's really easy to leave it plugged in all the time and there's no problem with it. And like overnight, if your computers are asleep or if your computer's asleep for 3 days, you're not creating any new data when it's asleep, so there's no need for it to back up and it won't. If you're using a laptop, if you have a place where you set it or if you work at a desktop every so often, have it there so you can plug it in however you want.
You just have to plug into sporadically.
You just plug it in and it does its thing. And you know what? If you interrupt it partway through, it doesn't matter. It's Apple. It says, oh, okay, people make mistakes. We're not going to hold it against you. But on a laptop, that's where the idea of it being wireless comes in and makes it handy. I'm not a huge proponent of these because it's like I don't like TVs with the built-in DVDs because the DVD will fail, something like that. But these are really good and it really does help if you're on a laptop and you're afraid you're not going to back it up very
It's a
often.
router as well.
It's a router and
So you have to
a hard
change your
drive.
router,
so, and it's a fantastic router. That's the best router money can buy.
I just request router.
Yeah.
How much is that?
But again, it's not that big a deal to plug your hard drive in. Just please do it.
What about iCloud? If you put you back up on iCloud.
Okay, so we'll talk iCloud. Now, iCloud doesn't back up your pictures. It's so weird with iCloud. So iCloud's changing in the next couple weeks. That'll allow you to buy extra space to back things up if you want. But right now what iCloud does is it puts your photos on PhotoStream in the cloud, but it's only a temporary holding place. In other words, iCloud will hold your 1,000 most recent photos and if they're up to 30 days old, but they've been keeping them longer than that. They've made the 1,000 be the limit. So what happens is it's only your 1,000 most recent photos, whether you took it with an iPhone or if you put the photos in iPhoto, which we're going to go over in a second here. So the iCloud backs up your data for iWork, Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. It'll back that up, those documents. It'll back up your contacts, your calendar appointments, your reminders, and those things. But it is not designed as a backup yet. That's gonna come in the new what's called iCloud Drive. So, and by the way, there are online backups. Backblaze is a really good one. It's like $5 a month for each computer, and it can even back up external hard drives for the same price.
Okay.
And that would make it so it doesn't necessitate having to have a second hard drive you leave somewhere. The rule of thumb for backups is 3-2-1. 3 backup, or not 3 backups, but have your files in 3 places, 2 different kinds of media, and I don't know what the one part is. I'm sorry. It's escaped me. But anyway, the idea is that I always have the data on my computer. Okay? So my data's in one spot there. If I have one backup drive, my data's in 2 spots.
Is that your photos also?
Yeah, it backs up everything that's on your computer. Everything.
So if you're traveling and you have that, you wouldn't have to put your photos into a flash drive.
Well, no, your photos are on a card, and so the thing is you're a bit vulnerable when you're traveling. That's why I buy new cards. I keep my cards with me until I get home and get them backed up.
Photos on the camera.
Yeah.
And on your phone.
On my phone? Yeah, so they're on your phone, and 1,000 of them are up in the iCloud. And
So say you're traveling, taking pictures on your iPad.
then they're stored on the iPad, and they're temporarily stored in the cloud as long as you don't exceed 1,000.
And then what if you exceed 1,000?
Hang on, I hit the wrong room. Oh, the lights are over there again, aren't they? Oh, where'd my light controls go? There we go. All right. So if they're on your iPhone, they're always going to stay on your iPhone unless you delete them. If you travel with your computer, it can upload them to that. But they are temporarily on the cloud and up there. And as we get to iPhoto, I'll show you how that part works. So, I can tell photos are a big deal to you guys, and the Mac is the perfect place to do photos. Let me continue with Mail before we get to iPhoto, because we probably use Mail more than anything, Mail and the web. This is Apple Mail, and you guys all know that our eye picks up colors really well and shapes. So Apple decided to make all the icons gray and the same shape up there. So I don't know why. And since we don't really know what those icons are, if I go up here, oops, my screen is having, there we go. If I go up to the top and I say View, Customize Toolbar, and down here I say Icon and Text. Now, all of those have little words under them. Okay? So I can also right-click on the gray area. If I right-click on it, I can go Icon and Text. I encourage everyone to do that. I've been doing this a long time, and I don't know. It's not like you have to pay extra to have those words there. I have no idea why Apple didn't activate that to begin with.
Would you mind saying that one more time?
Sure. So up in the toolbar, if you right-click or control-click or secondary-click, or we're going to go to View because the view is what we're trying to change. So if I go View, Customize Toolbar, and then down here in Customize Toolbar, I say Show Icon and Text rather than Icon Only. Okay? Now, while we're in Customize Toolbar, I'll just show you some other things you can do. We won't go into too much detail, but you have the ability to put a little, see there's no print on there. Obviously, you're looking at the mail. You can slide print up, you slide whatever you want up there. Actually, it's better off. Let's go to New Message. Now that we've got it up here. New Message would be right here where it says New Message. And if I click on that, I lost my words again. So I have to Icon and Text. Now I've got that. Now, if I want to, I can still customize this toolbar, but there's a couple things I want to do here. Does anybody use BCC when they're sending mail to a group? Okay, BCC is very good net etiquette. We've all gotten those emails with 46 different email addresses on the header of them. That's very bad form. So you want to come down to this little box right here and say BCC. And once you've activated it, it will always be there. So what this means is if I'm sending if I have a list of people I send jokes to, a group, I can put them in BCC and nobody sees anybody else's email address. It only goes to the one person. But people also think that you have to put something up in the to line. You don't. The BCC works just like to. So if you put everybody's address in to, everybody'd see everybody else's email address. If you're doing a potluck dinner, that's a good thing to do, so you can be the first one that replies to everybody and says, I'm bringing salad, and then everybody else has to figure out other dishes they want to do, right? CC would be if I sent something to my mom, but I want my brother to see it, so my mom doesn't have to tell my brother about it, I would CC my brother on something. BCC means I can send an email to all of you and no one sees anybody else's email address. And first of all, it looks like it's personally to you, but secondly, it's a way to keep email addresses from getting out there and getting into spam lists. Because Lord knows spam's bad enough as it is. Another thing I want to show you right here, on the top of the dock, you see format. Now, don't go crazy formatting an email. Don't put these big fancy texts that are handwriting and all this other stuff, because the person you send it to might not have that font and might not be able to see it. So email is the lowest common denominator, just you're trying to get the point across. I'm going to show you some fancy stuff in a minute because it is Apple after all. But if I click Format, now when I go typing here, I have instant access to different fonts, different size of fonts, color of fonts. Let's highlight this. Let's make this, we're not going to do it 72, but there we go. And I want to make the font be magenta. And I can bold it, I can italicize it, I can underline it. So all of those are right there. And now on every time you do a new email, this format bar will show up and the BCC will always be there. Doesn't take up much room. If you don't really like it there, you can turn it back off by clicking the format one more time. Okay? So, that's not all there is with mail. I'm going to take, and there's two other little things up here. Show stationery. So, if I click show stationery, I get these pre-done stationaries that are really cool. So I'm going to go down to one that says photos. And I'm going to click this vacation one. I'm going to open my window up a little bit. And you can see here, it gives you an idea what it looks like. And of course, it's got all this default text. This is the Laura Upsum, you know, all this stuff, just so you can see what the text looks like. You just start typing over that. It'll go away when you start typing. And we'll say, Best Buy. Not so much. This is just an email. So this isn't a journal or anything else, but you could type whatever you want in here. Now when I type this is nice. This is a nice format. Oh, actually though, you know what? I'm a really slow typist. So I'm a slow typist, comma, I can have the computer type for me, comma, I simply activate dictation, period. Do you think this is great? Question mark?
Where do you do that?
On your keyboard, is anyone here not using an Apple keyboard? Either a laptop keyboard or the Apple keyboard? Anybody using any other brand keyboard than Mac? Okay. On your keyboard, there's a button that says FN or function. Think of it as the fun button, okay? To activate dictation, the first time you double tap the function button and it'll pop up and say, well, would you like to use dictation? Because it doesn't want to do it unless you want to. And you say yes. And when it activates dictation, you're able to do it. How many here have Siri on their iPhone or their iPad? Okay, we have the same thing. So if I bring this up, and if I go to an email, doesn't matter. So anywhere I can type, yes, we were in an email, but anywhere I can type, even if it's in a Google search, if I go up here to a new message on my iPad, I have a microphone right there, right? So now I won't do this for my name, but I come down here and I say, you simply tap the microphone, comma, and start speaking, period. New paragraph. Don't forget, comma, you must speak your punctuation, period. New paragraph. This is really easy, comma, because I'm a very slow typist because I make too many typos. And I hit done, and then it comes up. Anytime you have the microphone, you hit done. When you're done, you hit done.
Wow.
So that's not Siri, that's simple speech to text dictation. You have it built into your Mac, you have it built into that. We think there's a possibility that Siri will be available for the Mac also. Siri is a whole nother thing beyond this, but since we were crafting an email, I wanted to show you guys the ability. Don't forget you have to speak your punctuation, and yeah, it works. I can say quote, I can say closed quote, etc. Another little tip, if anybody's writing something where you need accents over the letters, like the word senior, S-E. Now when I hold the N key down, I get to pick which one. I can then pick the N, and it puts the thing over. You hold the key down, like in German, it's the umlaut over the U. You hold the U down and you get choices. And then there's little numbers. It's hard to read, but I simply hit the number key on my keyboard and it tells me which one to do. So an accent, in French or something like that. So you hold whatever key it is you want to do.
So if you don't speak your punctuation in the...
It won't put it in there.
It'll just be a complete run-on.
Just a complete run-on. So what you do is at the end of your email, especially when I do it from my iPhone, I say, hey, Siri's great, but please excuse any mistakes she made. So therefore, I can say anything I want since I blamed it on Siri right from the beginning. So, and it's just, if you're, in the old days, you used to craft mails, letters, and you would handwrite them out, and they were a thing of art. And then the typewriter came in, and we'd correct everything. And these days, you can correct it faster, but realistically, the 90% of the emails we send is a quick response to something and just back and forth. You don't have to put all that color in that we're used to doing with other stuff because, first of all, you don't want to spend the time doing that, and second of all, the person doesn't want to spend time reading it. So you can keep it short and sweet, and you can get away with a lot if you say, hey, Siri did this, it's not my fault at the end. Well, once it's up here, I can edit it, yes. So dictation is nothing more than another way to type in. So once it's typed in, I can go back and correct it however I want. And it's getting better all the time. Now, we just did this with the Best Buy class, but these aren't our photos. And if you'll notice, iPhoto is in my dock over here, but there's no little white thing. I do not have iPhoto running at this time, okay? But I want to put photos in this email. So if I go here to Photo Browser up in the top, and click on that, I can say, oh, okay, here's some photos. Oh, I like that one. I want that one to be right in the center. I'll move that photo there. I'll come over and move this flower right there. And, oh, what the heck, let's use this one right here. Okay, and then I can hit the red dot. Again, that was under Photo Browser. It looked into my iPhoto without opening iPhoto. And I just drug them over. Now, I want this to be my highlight photo, so I'm simply going to move it on top of that one, and they swap places.
How do I get the photos?
Into iPhoto, you're a special case. We'll talk about that later. Everybody else, once we go into iPhoto next, you'll see they just show up there on it. So I could send this now. Not everyone will be able to see the beautiful stationery you have, but everyone will get the photos and everyone will get whatever you typed. They may not get all this nice picture around it just because they're not on a sophisticated email platform. They're kind of lowest common denominator. If they can, it's basically what's called HTML, which is the way a website's built. But send it out. Hey, it's their loss if they can't see everything on it. The majority of people will be able to if they're on. They will see the pictures and they will see that, and the pictures will come as attachments. So like on a PC, they'll have the attachment down there.
Will it automatically resize the photos for that?
For here, it sizes the photos for here, but the photos are attached and they're in their regular attachment, whatever size you sent with it. Okay, so now I would simply go, now this is where you want to make sure you just type in, you start typing a name, and what it does is it fills in out of your address book or previous recipients. Don't keep typing a name. You want to pick from a list because inevitably if you mistype something and try to send it, it's going to say it can't go. So try and pick from the list. They don't all have to be in your address book or contacts because if you've sent mail to them before or you've gotten mail from them, it will autofill their name. It takes a while for that to procure, but it'll happen. And then I can just label it test. And I simply hit send at that point. Okay? Any questions on mail right now? That's on outgoing, but I want to show you a really cool thing.
You see CC, when you CC, then everyone sees when you see address.
Everybody sees everyone, but like if think of an old business environment where you're sending it to the boss, but you know the secretary is going to read it, so you CC the secretary so the boss doesn't have to send it to the secretary. So they see each other. You're sending it to the boss, but you're letting other people know what the information is.
BCC doesn't show.
Oh, BCC, completely blank. Nobody sees anybody else. And that's how it is most cases. But again, the potluck dinner was a good example where you want you want everybody to see everybody else's email address so they can
But I get emails
correspond.
with, like,
Oh, I know, it's
So
atrocious.
if you BCC someone, then and there's no reply all option. It's just it's.
Yeah, but, well, you can hit reply all, but it only does the one address. Okay. So I'm going to go here. Forget that this is in a stationery like this. Let me see if it's available here. Yeah. So I've got an email. This is Apple. This isn't my email. These are a special demo thing that Apple has put together. But you see there's a little paperclip there. That shows me there's an attachment. Now, this looks like it's pictures, but I think it's not. Let's see here if I can. Ah, perfect. So, as I bring my cursor down, in this center area, this little window pops up. And you can see what the window says. Delete it, forward, or reply rather, reply to all, forward, or you see my little attachment option. So if I click my attachment option, I have the option of saving it. But look at this, I can export it right to iPhoto from there. So if somebody sends you an email with a bunch of pictures, don't say, well, I'll save it to the desktop, I do this, I rub my tummy, pat my head, and oh man, I'm lost. Just export it right to iPhoto. Once it's an iPhoto, which is your shoebox where all your photos are stored, you can do a lot with it, and you can still delete it from iPhoto. But the nice thing is you can delete this email if you want, because the picture is probably all you wanted, is in iPhoto. We're gonna export it to iPhoto, and it will automatically fire up iPhoto. And it will import it. Now it's kind of small, but it's just as an example. Now, this is iPhoto, and it's right here. So now I can do a lot of things with it. Now, iPhoto is simply a shoebox that stores your photos. Let it do all the heavy lifting. Don't try to manipulate files outside and everything else. You throw all your photos into iPhoto. And how hard is that? Now, how many here are shooting, not with an iPhone or anything else, but you're shooting normally with a digital camera that has a removable card? Digital camera with a removable card? Do you know if it's an SD card? If it's an SD card, every Mac has an SD card slot on it. So you simply plug it into the SD card slot, or you hook your camera up, and automatically iPhoto fires up, and it says, hey, I've got these pictures here. Do you want to import them? And you say, import all. And when it's done bringing all those photos in, first it'll look to see if there's any duplicates and say, well, this is a duplicate. Do you want to import the duplicate also? And you say no. But it also, like I use a card, I'll fill my card up, but I don't want it to go through every picture I took 3 months ago. It will only show me the pictures that haven't imported yet. It won't try to re-import any of the existing pictures. It's smart enough for that. So then once it's imported all those new photos, and the worst thing is to say, well, no, I only want 3 of them in. Import them all, and then once they're in iPhoto, delete the ones you don't want. It's the easiest way to do it. But when you import them at the very end, it'll say, now, those pictures are still on your card. Do you want me to delete them from the card or keep them on the card? And that's completely up to you. If it deletes it from the card, they no longer exist except in iPhoto, and then your backup will start backing up those photos, but it all depends on how you manage it. I keep my cards and archive my cards, so I tell it not to delete them. Okay? So,
Just buy a new card.
yeah, cards are cheap. Actually, I'm doing it a little different now. I go into the last import because I take a ton of sunrise and sunset photos,
Okay.
and I just pick through the ones I know I want to keep and delete the rest. Let me turn that light off.
And so you just store it in like a index box or in a little
Yeah,
card
yeah.
Is that why the micro cards come with a bigger card with it?
Hey, yeah, that's an adapter is what that is.
So how does that?
That works.
So you put the smaller one or
You
the
put
bigger
the
one?
small one into the holder and insert the holder in here,
Oh.
in the SD slot. Or if your camera has a USB cable, you simply plug it into the side.
Oh, you don't have to use the card.
Nope. So, iPhoto is again the shoebox. And when we click on, so last import will show me the last photos I've imported. I can delete those if I want, and it deletes them, or I could delete 3 of the 4 if I only had one I really liked.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay?
On the iPhone, only some of my, even though I haven't plugged it into my.
I'm going to get there in a second.
Okay.
So, in Photos is your shoebox of photos. Okay? That's the shoebox. Events is little divider cards in the shoebox that show you. So if I take photos in the morning at a breakfast, and then the next day I'm at a rehearsal or recital and I take pictures there. When those get imported into iPhoto, they'll all come into Photos, but it'll create 2 separate events based on the date. Okay? Because many times, so events is just another way of looking at those photos, a quick, easy way. And when I hover over an event, it'll show me what photos are in there, and if I double click on the event, it shows me all the things in the event. Now, if I go to a breakfast in the morning and I take photos, and in the evening there's a cocktail party, those are both going to go into one event because they're the same 24-hour period. So I can simply go into the event and split this. We're not going to go into much detail on that, but you can split the events out. You can spend a lot of time messing with your events if you want, but realistically, if I go to Photos, and I am in View and say Sort Photos by Date, when I grab my scroll bar that is now there all the time, right? And I grab my scroll bar up and down, oops, it shows me what date I am on in my photos.
Sorted by date, even if they're old photos?
Whatever, if they're digital photo, it's by the date the camera was set. Another great reason to make sure your date is always set correctly in your camera. It's huge. Because we know that you didn't take that picture in 1904, which is sometimes the default date, or 2000. So always have the date on your camera. On your iOS devices and your Android devices, they're set automatically.
What about if you use your phone?
It's an iOS device. That sets the date automatically. So as long as you're not somewhere where you don't have reception. Go ahead.
Usually I make different folders for different events and different dates. And I like to rename it.
It'll do it automatically, and then you can go name it.
How can I rename it?
So all you do is you can name anything you want, but if you go into events, you're going to be events. You can make albums. They're not called folders. We're going to show you how to make an album in a second. But if I have an event, I simply click on the bottom of the event here, and I can type and name it whatever I want. So it'll make an event for every day. If I'm on a cruise and it's a 5-day cruise, though, I probably don't want separate events. I want the whole cruise together. I can merge my events also. Okay? iPhoto is a 6-hour class, and we're not going to go into a ton of detail because it's changing after the first of the year. But what I want to do is I want to go into Photos, and I'm going to say I'm going to click in the gray and select these photos. All right? So I'm going to select all these photos. Now, I want to make an album, not a folder, an album out of these. So what I do here is I go down here and I either click Add to or Share, and I say Share, and look at this. There's an album. Create Album. Again, I selected the photos I want. I hit Share, Album, and now it created a new untitled album. I'm just going to call it Test because that way I know I can delete it.
What do you name that?
You just start typing. It's right in the lower left right here.
Oh, okay.
Right in the lower left is Test. So now that album's called Test. All right. I can drag other photos to that. Let's go back to our main photos page. And, well, I'm not sure if she was in this one. Let's see if these photos are in my test album. So I highlight them and I drag them over to my test album, and it will not duplicate them if they're not there. We know that these 3 just went in, so I'm going to try drag these 2 over to it.
Oh, so when we take them off, they're not in there yet?
Yep, it won't duplicate them. You notice it didn't duplicate them. And an album is just another way of looking at those photos that are in the shoebox. I could have one photo in 25 different albums, but I still only have the original picture. I'm not duplicating and triplicating the same picture. Okay, we're going to talk about working on a picture in a second. Now, I have this album. Slideshows are pretty cool, and they're usually really, really, really tough to make. So, I have this album, and I'm going to go back down to share. And I say share, and there's slideshow. Okay? It's making a slideshow. It calls it test 2.
Can you put music to that?
It's got music to it. You don't hear it because of the way the Apple TV thing is. Sorry.
Can you upload
But
your
these
own
transitions. So, great question. So this is just I didn't do anything. I hit one button, right? You can make it as hard as you want, but I can take this slideshow, and I'm going to stop preview, and I can change the theme. I'll show you a theme I really like. Now, just like remember when we had the mouse and the trackpad, there were little movies showing us where our cursor is, what it does. As I hover over each of these themes, it shows me what that theme does. Origami. Well, I like vintage prints. I'm going to select vintage prints and say choose. And now you'll see how it looks a little different. The current photo is here in color, and other photos in my slideshow are behind. Now, this looks like you spent hours on it. And again, the way this Apple TV, the music thing doesn't work because I'm doing this AirPlay.
So, quick question: does it you have to before you can put it in the slideshow or any of that, you have to create an album with those photos?
Yes, you have to have an album. And the good thing about creating an album is, remember, our photos are stored chronologically. When I create an album, I can move the photos around all you want. I take pictures at the national parks when I go there, and I usually try to get the sign when I'm entering the national park. But inevitably, I forget it, and I get it when I'm leaving. So in my album, I move that to the front because that's the one I want to go into. Okay? So you can see that's a pretty cool theme. Then I can go in here to music. There is music that are theme music. Now, if you're going to upload this to YouTube and you use the theme music, you're covered. If you use copyrighted music on a slideshow and you upload it to YouTube, they possibly can strip the music out of it. I just did one for my mom's 90th birthday, and it wouldn't go to YouTube. But if I use royalty-free music, which is provided there, I can do it. Of the 5 songs I did for my mom's, one of them is stripped out. The rest it let play. Sometimes the artist has requested you just put an ad for the album over the, not you. YouTube puts a little thing over it. Hey, if you want to buy this music, go here.
Okay.
So if I want to do that, I just go up here to the top and go in and I choose my iTunes, and then I can pick whatever albums I have, and I simply drag these down here. And what's even cooler than that is when I go to my settings, usually a slide's about 6 seconds long, but I can tell the slideshow to fit the length of my music. And they'll both end at the same time. But be careful. You don't want one slide going for half a second. They'd all go for a half second. If you have a lot of slides and not much music, or you don't want the slide to show up for a minute there where you have a lot of music and not many slides. So you do the little calculation. You figure, okay, I got 120 slides, 6 seconds a slide, 120 times 6, and then that gives you how many seconds it is, and then divide it by 60. And then you go look for music that'll fit that closely.
Can you run this to a CD or DVD?
Yes, you can, but you have to, there's some other programs you need to do that. So anyway, that's the show, and I'm really stumped that I'm not getting any sound. But trust me, there's music in the background, and you'll hear it when it plays here, and the slideshow will take that. From here, what's really neat is I can save it, and then I can still we're going to go ahead, your question back there first.
How many photos can go on it depends on what your storage capability.
No limit. I have 46,000 on mine.
I know, but if you're using an iPhone, you have to export it from the iPhone here or whatever.
It's all a matter of storage. Okay, so let's talk, since a lot of you had iPhones, and we have this thing called PhotoStream you can activate on your iPhone. In iPhoto, you want to make sure that you go to Preferences, iCloud, and you want to turn PhotoStream on. And what this means, so first of all, with your iPhone, if you take your little cord and plug it in here. So, well, does anybody know what the best camera in the world is?
What?
The one you have with you. The new iPhone is going to have a fantastic camera. But if I'm out and about and this is the only camera I have, this is now my best camera in the world. If I'm out shooting in Yosemite and I have my Canon DSLR, that's now, to me, the best camera in the world. So whatever you have with you is the best camera in the world. Now, I can take from my phone and take my, so first of all, when this is a camera, forget that this is a phone, forget this is a computer that happens to make calls. It's a digital camera right now. I could take that cable and hook it up to somebody, let's say I'm visiting someone and I just did a bunch of photos and I want to put it in their PC. You hook that cable up to their PC and it will suck the photos out of this just like it would with a regular digital camera. I can also do it to my Mac with the cable. That's the old way. PhotoStream takes any of the photos I've taken here, it goes up to the cloud, and if I have it activated here, it will automatically download those to your computer, to your Mac in iPhoto.
If you do what you're saying here.
You have to have this on, yes. So the other thing is, you were saying earlier that your photos show up on your iPad. Well, if I take it with this camera, they show up on my iPad, but I'm only seeing PhotoStream. They don't live on the iPad yet. You have to tell it to store it on the iPad because you don't want it taking up all that room on the iPad. Now, all this being said, I'm really only copying the photos to somewhere because my photos live on my digital camera until I erase them. Moving them over here is simply copying them, okay?
So if you move them over there,
And yes, and just like earlier, if you do it, you can have the option of it. In the new Photos app, there's going to be a little easier way to do all of that stuff, but it's nice, and you want to get them here because then they're going to be backed up on your external hard drive. Okay, now let's go back to Photos.
So would that be why I only have some of my photos show up in the iPhotos? Like maybe
You have to turn PhotoStream on here to get them.
Okay.
Now, it's the only time that's a pain in the butt is if I'm at Costco and I'm taking pictures of prices or a measurement on something. And every time I ship a package, I take a photo of it on the counter so I can ascertain that, hey, that wasn't that way when I shipped it, things like that. Those all show up there, but you can delete them, okay? But PhotoStream is kind of an all or nothing kind of thing. Now, we showed you how to use from email, how to go in and get your photos. That's the pull. We pulled the photos onto our email with Photo Browser. Now, let's show how we can share these photos, these 4 photos. If I click Share, well, first of all, I can upload straight to Facebook from here. Okay? I upload mine straight to Flickr. Flickr is a free place. You get a terabyte of free storage. It's owned by Yahoo. If you have a Yahoo account, you qualify, you get a free Flickr account. If not, you can sign up for a free Flickr account. That's tough.
so you download your photos.
And I upload my photos to Flickr, and it's kind of a secondary place. What I do is I only take my best shots and throw it up there. And I have people that follow me on it and stuff like that. But it's a place that I can say, hey, go check out this photo. Like I had the natural firefall of Yosemite I put up there. My sunrise and sunset photos. My mom's 90th birthday party. Things like
Is it
that.
private?
You can make it private.
Okay.
Most of it's public, but you can make it private. It's a little bit tough to do. Not tough to do. It's a little tough to manage. I can also send it to iCloud, which means instead of just PhotoStream, it will store it on an album in the iCloud, but it will use part of your iCloud storage space. PhotoStream doesn't use your iCloud
Oh,
storage.
PhotoStream doesn't use your.
No, your 1,000 photos is a free bonus. Apple doesn't charge you for that space or use it against your account. I can also message it, text message, iMessage, and I can email it. Now, I can't email a whole bunch of pictures if they're really big, but let's just click on email. Was there a question back there too? Did you have?
No, I was just making a bad joke.
Oh,
I'm
that's the only kind I know.
talking about our nude photos.
Oh yeah, oh, okay. You know what? We need to address that. Not your nude photos, the nude photo. Everybody read about that? Anybody need brought up to speed on that? It was the big hoopla, right? Well, the people that had their nude, and Paris Hilton got famous because of one that leaked. But anyway, iCloud didn't get compromised. The celebrities' passwords were guessed. But they were able to be guessed because of one slight thing that let them continue to keep trying to guess, to get in. And this has been over months. So, convenience to us because, have you ever been to a site where you try to log in 4 times and they say, well, come back tomorrow, we're not going to let you in today. You blew it 3 times, you can't go beyond that. And that's a pain in the butt for us because our passwords are a pain in the butt sometimes. Apple's curing that soon with our fingerprint reader. You're going to be in the next year. You won't have to remember your passwords because they're going to be able to be fingerprint read-in, which is about as secure as you can get. But someone was able to go in and did what brute force is. They kept throwing passwords at these celebrity accounts, and they didn't get into their photos in iCloud because that's very secure. What they were able to get in was to the celebrities' phones were backed up on iCloud as a backup, as its own little thing, which they can encrypt if they want. They didn't choose to encrypt it, and it came back in, and they were able to extract the whole iPhone and do that. I guess the moral of the story is don't have nude photos on your phone. But.
Well, I was asking for privacy because I put my kids' pictures and I don't want them.
Well, that's Flickr. That's a whole different thing. They're safe on iCloud. I guarantee it. If you make them private, they're safe on iCloud, and you can only get there. But you can on Flickr have it be completely private. Yes, you just have to, and you have certain people that you can manage that, and that's a whole thing. So Flickr does.
Categorize that as an acceptable backup.
I'm sorry. Yeah, for your important photos, but you don't want to throw all your photos up there because you're using tons of internet then. And it's hard to restore them if you have to.
Okay.
But Flickr will take full size. Do you shoot RAW?
Yeah.
It won't. It takes them as JPEGs, not as RAW.
Okay.
That's the only downside. Those RAW is a certain type of the higher end cameras shoot RAW, which is it sends more data. It's about 3 times as much data. But what happens is if you're trying to work on a photo and there's a lot of stuff behind a shadow or something, we shut those because of the vacuums. So what do we got? Okay. But RAW allows you to pull stuff out of the shadows that you don't see in the photo, but the data is really there. And RAW is just the higher end cameras. Anyway, what I've taken is these 4 photos, and I can pick just this to show regular photos. I can do a stationary like this. This is all within iPhoto. And I can also manage the size of the photos. Never send anything over 5 megabytes. You can go up to 10 if you have to, but it won't go. Email is not designed to handle huge, huge files. That's why you can't send
So
videos.
you're an iPhoto.
I'm in iPhoto and I hit share.
And mail, right?
Share by mail, yep, and it was the 4 photos I had selected. And then I would just fill in somebody's email address and hit send from here. So I'm going to hit cancel. And by the way, they will also get the photo attached and they'll get it in the little stationery just like we did in the other one. Okay? So again, the takeaway is photos is our shoebox with all the photos. Events gives us another way to look at it. I can make albums to show my different, and to sort my different photos and drag things to it. I also have faces and places. I not go into great detail, but faces is facial recognition. For instance, if you have, like, I just did my mom's 90th birthday party. I did a slideshow for her. I went in and I had facial recognition for all the pictures that had my mom in it. And I was able to sort through those. And The only hard one is I have two great nephews and they're twins. So they're Will and John, and what I do is I just say W and J for both of them because I can't tell them apart. It might be able to tell them apart, but I can't tell them apart. So, and it will sometimes pick up plaster or stucco on the wall and think that it's a face when it's not a face, and it'll pick up cats and not dogs. So, and the last one is places. If you take photos with your iPhone, and you have the GPS turned on, it drops a pin wherever those photos are. And then what I can do is I can just go here. Here's like Iceland, I guess it is. So I can click there and then say, show me all the photos that were at that one spot. So your mission is to get home as many pins on the map as you can. And what I do is when I'm out taking photos with my regular camera, I take an iPhone photo at the same time to document the time and the place where I am. So when I go back and do those photos, how many times is it? Well, was that this museum or this museum? Was it in this city or this city? If I take an iPhone photo just of anything, that documents in time where I was at that point because it locks the GPS. All right? So that was photos. It's a lot of fun. I want to just touch briefly because we're running out of time here on Pages. Pages is the built-in word processing app from Apple. Pages is incredible. You also have one called Text Edit that's in there that's really easy. When I fire it up, it says, I'm going to create a new document. Do I want it to sit on the iCloud or on my Mac? On my Mac means it's stored here and only on my Mac. If I say put it on the iCloud, documents are small. It will take up part of that free storage space. But if I put it on the iCloud and say new document, there's all the other ones I have up there. If I say new document, now if I work on this document, later on I can pick it up on another Mac, believe it or not, even on a PC in the browser in your iCloud account, or on my iPad and sit there and work on it, and it constantly updates it. So it's really, really, really convenient. But if we look here, here's like a newsletter. They give you some pre-done ones that look pretty good, so we can double click on that. And we can sit here and edit. We can be very creative. And that's part of the deal of the Mac, you know. It really allows you to be as creative as you want. But if I just want to type a letter, not an email, but or a notice, the Christmas thing, something like that, hit new, and then I go up here to basic, and I just pick note-taking, stationery, miscellaneous. Just pick any of these. Like here, it looks like a regular letter, classic letter. If I fire that up, it's already formatted for me. Okay? And you've got, just type away. Just delete, and start deleting what's there and just type away. And then from here, what's really cool is we have the ability to share it. I can send them a link to the email. Let's say, remember I said you can't email more than 5 megabytes? Let's say you have a long, long thing here with lots of pictures in it. It's too big to email. If I say share via iCloud by email, it's going to put that up on the cloud, which is an email, and then they get a link to download it. So you're not clogging up the mail, but more than likely...
On any computer? You don't have to go on Mac to download it?
Right. Yeah. Well, they can now because the browser will let them do it. But usually you just want to go in here and say send a copy by email, and it'll fire up. Send it now. Here's my choice. When I want to send it as an email, I can send it as a Pages document. Most PC people don't realize they can use their browser to read Pages documents. Most of them have Word. So if I want to edit it, I can send it as a Word document. And then they can edit it and send it back to you. Or, remember I talked about fancy fonts and everything else? You can spend hours making this thing look great. And if they don't have the same fonts, it's going to look like garbage on their computer, even if you send it as Word. But if you send it as PDF, it will be exactly a picture of what it is you send them. It's not editable, but in fact, it's got the cool fonts and everything else that you spent hours on making nice. You send it as a PDF, and any computer can open it.
Will the pictures send that way as well?
Yeah. Oh, from pictures? Yeah.
Like if you send out a Christmas letter.
No, in the Christmas letter, you're going to bring them into here. We're in Pages. And if I go up here to Media, let's say, first thing you would do if you're going to do a Christmas letter or if you're going to talk about, hey, I had this great cruise, you know, you want to rub it into everybody, you had a neat cruise, and you had all these photos. Make an album in iPhoto that says cruise or Christmas letter. Throw in the photos you might want to use in the album, and then when I click on Media right here, I click on this, and my photo browser comes up. And I can simply drag these photos, and if you look here, let's see, it's funny, but my test album is not in here. Oh, there it is. Hang on. See, I made, oh, you know, test doesn't show up because I haven't quit iPhoto and restarted it since we did it. But anyway, family pics. I could just drag those photos and put them in the Christmas letter however I want. And I can stylize them over here and do whatever. It is so much fun, and it's so neat to be creative. You have a lot of fun with that. You'll all of a sudden not walk away when the homeowners association says, hey, who wants to do the newsletter? You'll say, oh, I can do it in this. And the cool thing is you can always export it as a Word document. So I have time for just a couple quick questions. I apologize, we kind of got behind a little today, but we covered quite a bit. So, and remember, since I had to zip through it, it's all recorded, and you go to kenspencer.com. K-E-N, it should be on there, kenspencer.com, and the recording will be there. Go ahead and ask your question.
I just want to, I'm about to bottom line on cruise. Photo stream, through photo stream, I can put a lot, I don't need photo stream.
Nope, up